So this video is going to talk you through how to improve your coursework. So if you have a look at what's on screen, this is an example of the type of thing that we're kind of seeing coming through, where the way that you've set out your magazine because of the fonts that you've used and where you've done your titles and so on is actually really holding back your coursework mark. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this video is kind of walk through how I would edit something like this. Okay, so what we've got here in terms of if I was marking this as an examiner, I'd be looking and thinking, okay, so the image that has been used is a pretty decent image. It's quite high quality. You're getting direct mode of address from the characters who are kind of being used. There's not much beyond that is particularly effective. Okay. The exam board says that you need to use 4 different cover stories. So we've got that here in theory. We've got 1, 2, 3, and this is a 4th, but it's struggling to really pass as a cover story because it doesn't actually tell you what's exclusive about this. So we'll need to do something with that. We've also got the price, which is supposed to be there, and the barcode, which is supposed to be there, but this has been warped by the way that the shape has been kind of stretched upwards. Okay, so it makes it look quite unrealistic. It's far too big as well for the cover, as is the price. The title is fine. The font is not the best really. Again, it's because it's been done on Photoshop, so we'll need to do something with that. The alliteration of the MM is quite good, so I think we'll kind of stick with that title. There is no strapline here or here. There needs to be kind of like a slogan that goes with it. So if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, okay, that's kind of similar issues to mine, this is how you go about changing it. So the first thing that I would do if I was changing this is we'd need to look at the stories, because it's far too long this to appear on the front of a magazine. It's not snappy enough. So if I was this candidate and I was editing this, I would open a Word document, or I'd get a piece of paper and I'd thrash out some ideas. Okay, so you can see here, these are the ideas that I would come up with. So instead of special edition, without saying why it's a special edition, we'll go with the sleep edition. You can see that this font is bigger and then I've gone smaller here. That's because if we look at examples of the types of things we see on this type of magazine, look here, so we've got a bigger title line and then underneath in a different font, slightly smaller. We're seeing that, excuse me, all the way through all of these different magazines, bigger and then smaller to give more detail, more information, bigger and then slightly smaller in a different font, and so on. So that's the type of thing that we need to be doing in ours. Okay, so your first step is to probably think about the genre of magazine that you are writing the cover for, whether it's a sports one or lifestyle or whatever, and have a look at the market leaders and have a look at the type of format. You do need to do different types of fonts. Every single magazine you look at, with the exception of very exclusive magazines like Vogue, will have lots of different fonts and lots of different colours, all within a theme. So you can see here it's quite pastel-y. Here we've got black, white and the vibrant pink that goes with what baby's wearing. Here we've got the blues, again, goes with what baby's wearing, and the sort of pastel pinks that tie in with this image down here. So think really carefully about how you can pull all of your images and writing together through your colour scheme. But it's really important to look at the different sizes and styles of font here. I mean, look at this. This has got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fonts, as well as the different colours, just in that one title line, that one cover story. So once we've had a look at that, then we start to do our Wix thing. Okay, I have made a specific episode of it, so no, not a specific video on this, where I talk through how to use Wix. So I'm not going to talk now, you'll be pleased to hear. I'm just going to start editing using Wix. But before I do that, I've got to get rid of all of these. So you can see it's the £3.50 that's moving. I need to start using this layer, so I'm going to right click with my mouse. I've selected this layer, which makes it move. Get rid of that, delete that. So I'm just pressing the delete button to get rid of all of these. Oops. Just press Control Z then, because I don't know if you saw I made a mistake. I deleted the wrong thing. I deleted a layer. Now I'm not going to delete this, I don't think. I think I'm going to resize it. So it's Control Alt and T, which gives you this to enable you to transform it. Let's get it a little bit smaller. We press Enter when we're happy. And we need to get rid of this one. There we go, press delete. Okay, we want to get rid of Modern Motherhood as well, because I don't like that font. Okay, so we're left with what we're happy with, which is the image and the barcode. So I'm going to open a new tab, go to Wix. Now, if you've watched the other video, you will know that Wix is a website design page, but the fonts are really decent to use. No, I don't want to go to that. Ugh, go away. Try again. There we go. Okay, so we don't want it to do a template for us. We want to just go to a blank template there. We don't want to edit it. We want to edit it, not view it. Okay, so we're going to go to add text. Okay, now there's not a load of logic to what I kind of choose in terms of fonts. I try to choose something that I think fits the genre. So the word modern, obviously we're wanting something quite clean, quite fresh looking. Motherhood, so that's almost the opposite. You're thinking of something quite traditional, something quite soft. We don't want, for example, something like this that looks sort of pretty over the top. But again, we don't want something like this that looks cartoonish. So have a play about thinking about what the genre of your magazine is and what sort of thing would fit it. Okay, that looks quite nice. Come on, computer, wake up. My computer's really slow this afternoon. Must know it's Monday. Yeah, it's not wanting to play. I'm obviously having to stretch this because I want it all on one line. I'm going to try getting those letters closer together and just see what that looks like. Okay, I'm happy with that. So, no, sorry. I'm going to go to preview. You can't see that, it's just on the outside of your screen. No, there's no way I can drag the camera across. So, but in your top right hand corner up here, it'll tell you preview, and it just enables you to go really close to the title. Okay, now don't worry that it's in a different colour. I don't want it eventually in black, but it doesn't matter. We can sort that on Photoshop. So we're going to go to Control N, which gives you a new document. Change it to transparent. And when I was on Wix before, I pressed print screen, which on your keyboard is on the top bar along, if you follow F1, F2, F3, all the way to F12, it's next to F12. So I press print screen, now I'm going to press Control V, and there we go. Okay, so I've used the crop tool, I've selected the bit I want, I'm going to press enter. Now I'm going to go to my magic wand. That gets rid of all the stuff that we don't want. So it's just selecting pixels that are similar to the one we've clicked on to get rid of all that white for us. Okay, let's just have a look at what we're working with. So it's going to go across here, so it's quite dark background image, so we're probably going to want quite a light font, maybe a soft sort of pink colour. We'll try that. So we're looking for the paint bucket. We can't see it at the moment, so if you ever can't see something, just have a look if it's hiding, and it is, it's here. Paint bucket tool, and it'll just fill this in for us. Okay, so we go up here again, so we're ready to select and move layers about. And we want this layer moving across onto our magazine cover. So we go to duplicate layer, and it asks us where we want to send it. And we want to send it here to Untitled 1. That's our magazine cover. Okay, and there it is. Right, so we make sure we've selected the right thing, and then we want to transform it. So we go Control Alt T. And we're going to drag it out like that. When we're happy with it, the size of it, probably want it about there. I'm going to press enter. We get rid of the original. Delete that. And we're going to move it up here. Now, this is a bit of a tricky one, because what you might decide to do is, if you've got your subject's head or something like that coming up over the top of the title, you can decide if you want to have it over the front. However, if we did it here, we'd be losing half of that word, and you wouldn't actually see the mother bit. So I would say in this case it's probably sensible to kind of leave it there over the subject's head. Okay, let's just drop it down a little bit. We don't want anything so it's sat on the side, on the border, so you can see there I've got a nice clean gap. Okay, the next thing we said we needed to do is to get these titles on there. Okay, so I'm not going to do every single one of these, because we talked about in the other video how to use Wix to do your fonts and to move them across. However, I am going to move a few across using Wix so you can see the way that you could perhaps do it in terms of varying your fonts. Now it's quite nice if you're doing a special edition to do it on a banner, maybe across the bottom of the page. It doesn't always fit. It won't always necessarily fit the style of your magazine. Okay, but remember we said we were going to have these, have perhaps, you know, some different sort of style fonts, different colours maybe, so we're going to have a little play about with what that could look like. I think sometimes it can be quite nice to balance a print title. So see here, it looks very sort of blocky, and then here something cursive, because it looks like you've kind of shouted this, and then this is more kind of conversational. It's more like someone's just saying it to you. So it's quite nice to sort of vary it with like handwriting styles. Some just look a bit, just don't look right. And sometimes when the characters are too close together, it's hard to read. Okay, I quite like that. I'm going to get them a little bit close together so you can see there's a big gap here. So we want these a little bit close together. So we're going to go to where it says line spacing and customize. I'm going to squish that up there. Okay, right, let's get this on, see what it looks like. So we're going to go to print screen, Control N, and it's remembered now that we want a transparent background, so that's what it's given us. Control V, and that pastes what you've just print screened, and then we're going to crop it. Okay, now I'm going to use my magic wand to get rid of all of this white in the background. I'm going to zoom right in, so Control and plus, that gets you really close to that text. Zoom out, so that's Control and dash, and we're going to duplicate this over, so all the way up, duplicate layer, and we're working on Untitled 1, which is our magazine. We send it over and there it is. Now I've got to decide where we want this. When we're talking about a special edition, it can be sometimes nice, if you remember I said before, to have it like a banner across here. So you can have a shape, which is, you'd use this to draw yourself a shape across there. Just deleted that. Or you can just have your font sort of quite large and taking up that background. Okay, so I think that's probably what I'm going to do for now. Control Z, that was the wrong thing. Layer 3, let's see if that's you. Yes, it is. Control Alt and T, which transforms, or gives you the option to transform. We're going to stretch it and have this quite big, because it's our special edition. So we want to publicise it. Layer 3, get rid of that, and this should be layer 3 copy. Yep. And bring it down here. Now we can't have it behind the barcode. We certainly can't have it sitting on the barcode. So we might need to make it a little bit smaller, because if you look, that's quite nice how that F curves around there, but we don't want it sat on the edge. So this is how picky you've got to be. So let's just pull it in a little bit there, enter, get rid of the other one, and then see how this one looks. Let's bring it up there. I'm going to zoom right in, just give me a little bit of a clearer view. You can't see me, but I actually get my nose stuck to the screen looking at this, trying to get it really sort of hugging it. So you can see there's just a tiny little gap there, but it's almost framed here by the font. Okay, so that looks quite good. However, I'm sure you're noticing it's not actually very easy to read, and if this is one of our big stories that we're hoping will kind of pull readers in, we want them to be able to read it. So as I've said, you can use a shape to make a banner, or you can do something with the background to help this to stand out. So let's have a think. I'm debating getting this font much lighter. I'm thinking we've got these colours in these bright blues in the blanket. I'm wondering if we could do something with that. If we do, let's see what that does. So we're going to go to our teardropper and we're going to get the colour, and you can see how now we're working with that colour. We're going to go back over here to the move tool just to check that we're working with the right layer still. We are. And now we're going to use our paint bucket. Let's see how this looks. Oops, can you see what I've just done? I've obviously just dropped it onto the picture of the boys. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z, no panic, and there we go. I am being a little bit lazy. I should probably zoom in. That'll make it much easier. Now, if you remember the stuff that we looked at, they don't have the same fonts very often. So let's pull one of these nice vivid yellows from here for this one. Paintbrush. No, sorry, paint bucket. Now that's not very easy to see at all, but that's okay. I've got a plan. Okay. Not sure about it, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to work with this image now. So just check we've got the right thing. We have, it's there. You can see I've got a spare in the background. I just copied it just in case I make a mess of this one. Right, and what we're going to do is to try to create some more contrast here, because yellow on this cream colour is not great, so we can't see very well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here to the paintbrush, okay, and then instead of normal, we're going to try Colour Burn. Now Colour Burn is a really, really strong tool. You only get it nice big size, because if you're working with tiny little lines, if you're working with stuff like that, you end up with really obvious things like that. So Control Z. So one nice high number of pixels, about 500. Yeah, that's good. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, so I'm on 600 pixels there. This bit, the opacity, how see-through it is. You don't want this number very high. When you're working with Colour Burn, you're trying to be subtle. Start with about 10%, you might even go lower. And we're going to go with a very dark colour, like a black, okay? So if I want to sample a colour while I've got my paintbrush, you can press the Alt button that is on the left-hand side of your keyboard. And when you do it, it gives you your little teardropper like that. You just click with your left-hand side of your mouse, and now we've got that black. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just colour in with that Colour Burn. Be patient. Don't be tempted to up your opacity to try to get it done quicker, because it'll end up being really, really over the top. We don't want that. Okay, so you can see how that colour's starting to pop out now as we build up those layers of Colour Burn. Okay, so let's have a zoom out. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. That's sort of popping off the page a little bit more. You can kind of build that as we go. But we've got to make sure that it doesn't look out of place. So because we've Colour Burned quite strongly down here, it's perhaps worth looking if we need to do something similar at the top. So there's a kind of vignette around the image. A vignette is, I'm sure you've seen it on your phones if you kind of use filters on Instagram. It's where you get the kind of black around the outside of the image, and it's almost like a spotlight on your main image. It can make it look quite dramatic. Okay, so that's worked quite well because we've now got our title that's sort of popping a little bit more as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to work on this image, and then I will show you a kind of completed version so you can compare the original to the one that I've ended up doing. I'm not going to video all the way through because obviously you'll be bored rigid, but hopefully you've got something from there in terms of how to play about with your fonts, and in particular this idea of taking your title, so you've got a bigger title and then a little bit more information underneath in a smaller font, and as well, if you remember, go and look at what's existing, what's already out there, and look at the types of things that they're doing on their covers. You know, almost take a design and use it as a model for your own. Okay, and that's me.